they set, where them hands, where them holes, where them throws, you know what I'm saying? Cecil.
Now, I am not an Aikido black belt. I've got what I've called some Aikido exposure, even though one of my certificates mistakenly says that I have an Aikido black belt. But what it's really meant to say, I think, was that your system has some Aikido influence. That's why they listed all the stuff there. It's just that the other stuff that it has on it, this is my certificate for Soke-ship or Style Founder, has styles that they knew I've dealt in. I don't have any Aikido rank. I've taken some, and I intend on going back eventually to actually get something. But this article really hits to my heart because it makes me question: are keyboard warriors killing traditional martial arts? I don't think keyboard warriors will completely kill traditional martial arts, but I can definitely tell you that keyboard warriors are damaging the perception, in my opinion, of traditional martial arts in the eyes of a lot of people, a lot of young people, because they just believe what they see on the internet and they just take it as gospel. I used to do that as myself at one point until I got to the point where I saw that a lot of stuff they were saying on the internet is just flat out not true. And then I came to the conclusion that a lot of the people who are criticized the most on the internet, not all, but there were a couple of instances where there are people who are heavily criticized, I come to find out are actually the most knowledgeable. And so then I reached out to them and made contact, and then I started learning a lot. It's just, this is what it is. It's just that the internet favors things that can be done in a sporting context. If the art does not lend itself to a sport context or a contest, the internet thinks it's useless. And keep in mind, I'm generalizing on the internet, for I am on the internet myself, so I'm generalizing. But usually, that's what it is. If you can't compete with it or in it, then people think it's useless. They don't understand that it is true. Some styles are not meant for competition, because if you were to do that style to its fullest in a competition, you would be harming your opponent permanently or at least severely, and you don't need to do that for a contest. Now, that being said, I don't have a problem with combat sport per se, because at least it gives people things that can be done in a sporting context, and it can help them in a civilian, regular one-on-one ego fight. It'll be guaranteed to do that. For example, like, you couldn't go into a battlefield with boxing gloves on and think you're going to come out okay if you drop your weapon. You might not. If you happen to be a better fighter than the person that's coming up against you, then yes. But you can, survive a lot of ego fights with boxing. And this is the thing too. A lot of people on the internet probably don't know that a lot of the folks who are at the upper echelons of combat sport have strong traditional backgrounds. They've spent some time in traditional martial arts. They have a traditional foundation. Look at the biographies of a lot of your favorite MMA fighters. That's what I did when I used to watch MMA. And I saw that they had strong traditional backgrounds. Then they went into MMA and learned how to put those skills in a sporting context. But that doesn't mean that people who do not participate in contests don't know what they're doing and aren't teaching you something that's useful and are unable to defend themselves. But you can't tell a lot of people that. And this article I saw here is the consequences of what can happen. People put too much faith in the internet. So this is an article that says Aikido sensei to close Brisbane dojo as martial arts popularity declines. Okay. Aikido master Michiharu Mori says keyboard warriors are destroying his traditional martial art. The Brisbane sensei will close his West End dojo in December after nearly 30 years due to declining student numbers. This is Brisbane, Australia. The 8th level black belt says Aikido was losing popularity due in part to internet commentators who scorned the discipline as a weak and ineffective martial art. So that's him. I've never met this man, and I've never even been to Australia, so I have no personal stake in his dilemma, but I do have an idea for a solution which I will offer at the end of this video. However, Mr. Mori said for him, Aikido is more about self-mastery and harmony and less about defeating opponents through strength. And in my opinion, that is a very noble reason to study a martial art. It's about working out your own things and learning how to be able to, I won't even say defeat an opponent, but being able to resolve conflict and bring everybody back to harmony with the least harm or no harm done to anyone. I think that's the highest level, in my opinion, especially for civilians. There are martial arts that represent power, but Aikido is not about power, Mr. Mori said. For me, what is important is not defeating opponents or winning in the ring, but training and improving oneself. Aikido is about harmonizing with your opponent, and that principle applies in many aspects of life. Right. Like judo has mutual welfare and benefit. It's one of its slogans. Taekwondo has, I would say courtesy from Taekwondo applies to that. Unlike other martial arts, it lacks shiai or matches where two opponents try to defeat the other. Mr. Mori said he will return to Japan to continue honing his personal style of Australian Aikido, Goshiryu Aki Jiu-Jitsu. Aki Jiu-Jitsu is very effective. Aki Jiu-Jitsu is where a lot of things come from. He's got Aki Jiu-Jitsu in there, and people still. Anyway. He plans to visit Australia intermittently in order to teach his techniques and to try to improve the damaged reputation of Aikido, carrying on Sensei's legacy. His legacy will be passed on to one of his longest disciples, Lawrence Monforte, who plans to open another Australian Aikido dojo in Brisbane. So that's this gentleman here. Again, I've never met him either, so I don't have any super personal stake in this game. Mr. Monforte said young people these days were more interested in the more aggressive, glamorous styles of fighting practiced in mixed martial arts. Now keep in mind, I'm not a historian. History may not be my forte, but I suspect that young people have always been interested in that. In any art, they want the aggressive, they want the glamorous. Okay, they want the stuff that they can feel, right? That's what they want. You can see that in my other passion of hip hop. That's the style of rap that is most popular. Aggressive, glamorous. Those are the movies that tend to be popular. Also, movies that have aggression, glamour. People like stuff that hits hard and shines. And that especially appeals to the young. As you get older, you tend to lose a taste for that sort of thing. He said YouTube boxers such as Logan Paul and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu podcasters such as Joe Rogan were typically scornful of less combat-oriented styles such as Aikido. Now, saying that Aikido is not combat-oriented, that's not necessarily true either. This is what I tell people. Why would you even waste your time with Aikido whenever I hear anything like that, right? Keep in mind, I don't have a backbone in Aikido. I've read Aikido literature, and I've taken some courses, and I would eventually like to, when I can carve out the time and find a convenient location and do it. I just haven't been able to do it because I just haven't been able to have a convenient location. But I think that's going to change. I know that Aikido is used by cops. I've known some cops that use Aikido. They've used Aikido to arrest people. They use Aikido to handle prisoners. So we're gonna act like cops are the realest of the real when it comes to dealing with civilian violence. I'm gonna listen to cops. I'm gonna listen to cops over keyboard warriors. That's all I have to say. Mr. Monforte said more young people were watching exhibition matches on the internet, but fewer people were turning up to the dojo to train. As a new sensei, Mr. Monforte said he hoped to repair the reputational damage done to Aikido. He said the appeal of Aikido was its focus on self-defense to guard against an assailant rather than attacking with punches and kicks. Now, if you have Aki Jiu-Jitsu, you could easily remedy that with Atemi. So just start teaching Atemi. Mr. Monforte said Mori Sensei's disarming and grappling techniques have been taught to police in Tokyo, Queensland, and Victoria. See, says that right there. Okay. He said Aikido training was a grueling workout for the body and the mind. The training can actually be quite heavy and brutal. Yeah, it can be when you've got to do the repetition. It can also be gentle too. I think, and again, I may be wrong because I don't have black belt in it, but I suspect that you can also practice Aikido in a way where it's not so grueling on the body. You just really gotta do more deliberate practice. That's what I suspect. You have to be deliberate in your practice, and you just want to have to take a longer steps along that journey. The training can actually be quite heavy and brutal, but they're the things you need to prepare yourself for potentially dangerous situations, Mr. Monforte said. If you want to improve in life, you need to go through that hardship. You cannot forge good steel without hot heat. Well, see, this is how I forge steel. I did it by accident to myself, but I do it to other people and it works wonders. That is and I can't believe that there are people that don't know about this. That boiling frog theory, and that is what you do is you turn the heat up on a person gradually, so gradually that they don't notice that it's hot. And the next thing that you know, the frog doesn't jump out of the pot when it's being boiled alive because the heat turns up so gradually. And like I said, I did it to myself inadvertently because I was inconsistent with my practice before I got a first degree black belt. But every time I would come back and I would be ready, the next level was hard. I just flat out just didn't really notice how hard or, quote unquote, how bad the level of contact was because I was just used to it. And like in my off times when I practiced by myself, I would just put myself through whatever I could. I just got used to it, but it wasn't really quick. It happened gradually over a long period of time. I just conditioned myself to do it, but it's not like I jumped in there day one. Because I remember, because I had gone from even being like afraid of ever being thrown to, in judo matches, I've taken some real pretty falls in contests, and even with like taekwondo slash karate slash tang sudo matches. I mean, the last time I competed in one of those, it was one of those last matches. It was really intense and it was really tough, but I was just used to that. I was just used to it, you know. I was just used to it. I got to go to that intensity over a period of time, and then when I started, assistant instructing, I had to learn how to modify the intensity based on the level. And now when I teach people, I don't even think they realize it. I'll take a person that's completely fearful and I just work with them. I just expect them to do what they need to do. I don't push them before they're ready, but they eventually get ready. And I've seen after a while some people that I know they would even think of themselves as being timid, but they don't see they don't see other people watching them and being afraid of them. When they're still a little timid, a little humble, but they get in there and they get in there, they do what they need to do, and other people watching them are just in shock. They're like in shock. I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying that that's how you handle that. That's how you make the heat. You do that, and you just respect the limits of your body, and then your body can adapt. Unfortunately, this stuff is use lose, and if you don't do a set of moves for a while, they kind of leave you. But let me get back on track here. My proposed solution, number one, is I got two things. First of all, you might just have to cater to a different market and try to make a keto for the connoisseur of martial arts practice, not try to reach people who are still for the aggression and the glamour. Just go and teach people who already know an art and who are at the point where they're ready in their maturity to go ahead and learn what Aikido has to offer. Just cater it to like either a super experienced martial arts person and or an older crowd. Go to that niche. Or number two, you could create randori for Aikido. You could have Aikido-kas partner up with Judo-kas and have Aikido-kas and then have a section of Aikido that's basically sport judo. And make it so that Aikido-kas can compete in sport judo contests. I wouldn't necessarily say have Aikido-kas partner with BJJ people for contest. Not that BJJ is bad, and not that I don't think they should ever cross train in BJJ. For I think that yeah, you should. I feel like you should cross train in whatever you can. But I think in order to rectify this problem of popularity, have Aikido-kas learn sport judo. See if you can get it so that you have sport judo / Aikido people working together, right? And just say, just teach randori type of techniques. These techniques are used in randori. These techniques are used for self-defense. But see, the problem with my solution though is that people being people, and this is what has quote unquote ruined Taekwondo, right? This is what's ruined the traditional martial arts. Is when you allow sport to come into your arena, there are going to be people who just want to do sport and they just want to do contest. And then if you got to keep the lights on, see, then you are going to feel pressure to just teach sport, keep those lights on because you winning, that's good for business. Okay. But you're going to have to hold your guns. And see, that's something, that's why this article speaks to me too. That's something I've had to deal with my own style. And trying to quote unquote round out Taekwondo, right? Letting myself and my training and what I teach be influenced by a lot of other things. People forget that they're supposed to be learning traditional Taekwondo. And they don't want to do it. They want to spend time. They definitely want to spend time wailing on each other with punching and kicking. And they think cross training in judo only means randori. They think cross training in judo only means randori or newaza. They don't think it means uchikomi. They don't think it means kazushi. They don't think it means going through all of the sets of waza. They probably don't even think it means learning nage no kata. I've only learned nage no kata and katami no kata and ju no kata. And I went through that one, I went through at a seminar. I don't know it, but I walked through it. And it was wild that walking through that form like made my judo better. Kodokan Goshin Jitsu. No, not Kodokan Goshin Jitsu. What am I saying? Because in my opinion, I won't look for that now. Kodokan Goshin Jitsu is actually what one-step sparring is. That's not even my opinion. The guy that taught me Tiger Heart Karate in high school said that you're really doing Kodokan Goshin Jitsu. What's that? It's from judo. What's judo? Don't worry about it. So I eventually found out what that was, but he said that's what we were learning, and it was. He was. It's basically he was just for his one steps. He just took pieces out of there for self defense. He just took pieces out of there and just fed it to us in chunks rather than have us go through the whole thing. So I'm telling you, I really feel for this sensei. Okay, and I do think keyboard warriors are killing traditional martial arts because people lend their ear to stuff that they shouldn't be lending their ear to. Okay, and I know it sounds like I'm criticizing people. I am, but I know because I did it myself. So I used to be just like you, keyboard warrior. Hey, you could say I used to be a keyboard warrior, but I got from behind the keyboard. And eventually, I'm telling you, you're going to find out you can't believe everything that's online. Heck, if you don't believe me, you verify what the ideas I have. Look at them. Do your research, and I bet you're going to come back and find out. That old bald guy is right. Now, where I would say the internet is good, I'm not saying the internet's all bad in its criticism of a lot of things, because there are certainly some practices. There are some practices I had heard about, and I was like, nah, ain't nobody really doing that. Nobody's really doing that. And then I see video of them doing it. I'm like, yo, for real, they doing that? What? That's what they're doing? Serious? So a lot of that stuff that people find out or hear about in on McDojo Life's channels, like back in the day, you would hear about that stuff, but there was no internet for you to see it. You know, you hear like, yeah, you go on some gyms, man. They make you, they punch you in the face for you to learn how to take a hit. I'm like, ah, yeah, right, yeah, you lying, whatever. But then you find out, oh, they do that, and you hear people talking about, sometimes you got to take 30 falls or something like that. But now you see it on video. When you see it on video, now you can believe it. And see, even some of the stuff that like has been video on McDojo Life. I'm not gonna be specific, but I can tell you some of the people that have been criticized in MMA forums on McDojo Life, people have said that they're bad or they don't know what they're doing. It's not true. It's not true. I looked into it myself. Who are they? I'm not going to tell you because I'm not dragging anybody's name into this. I'm going to stick by my argument, which is, yeah, seems like keyboard warriors are trying to kill traditional martial arts, right? Because they think if you can't do it in a contest, then you can't prove that it works. They don't want to accept the fact that contest styles were made for safety. This is like the most intense you can go without killing the person, but doing techniques to kill the person. And I still even think, and I'll criticize my main style, I still think that we shouldn't be doing head kicks in contests for Taekwondo because you're kicking someone in the head. But of course, as you can see, ain't nobody listening to me on that. People still doing head kicks. They still taking head kicks. Folks are cheering them on while they're doing head kicks in contests. And the person gets kicked in the head. As soon as they get clear, they get back up, right back up, or they show up again and get kicked in the head again. So it's like, I can't really die on that hill. I can have my students not kick people in the head when they're practicing. I cannot kick people in the head. Well, you don't want them to learn how to kick at the head of that. No, I say kick at the head. You don't have to make full contact. Have control. That used to be the thing back in the day. Control. People felt like, well, then if you don't get hit, you don't know how to actually deal with a punch. That's actually not necessarily true. Because when I went and finally took formal boxing lessons, because I had been hit before in real fights, I was unnecessarily flinching. So you would think, right, that, oh, because he'd been in some street fights, that would make him a better boxer. No, it helped, but there was stuff that you might as well just call him the boxing master, had to get me to unlearn so that he could actually teach me. some boxing. And then they come to find out he studied traditional martial arts too. He studied Xingyi Bagua and Tai Chi. So he studied Chinese martial arts and boxing. That's what I tell people. You know, like with me, I'm teaching you Taekwondo. I studied all this other stuff that's going to make its way in there. A lot of times your combat coach, your combat sport coach, remember it's combat sport, your combat sport coach has a traditional background as well. But he's teaching you or she's teaching you how to compete in this certain context. Okay? Because you don't see this move right here. You don't see that in traditional boxing matches because the gloves aren't going to allow you to do that. But I can tell you now, people will say, oh, you're just kind of posing when you're doing that. If I use that properly, the self-defense standpoint, I trap an arm down here and then they lean forward because the momentum's coming forward and I'm sticking to them, bringing their hand forward. They come right into my hand, they're done. That's going to really hurt a civilian. Or if I want to do it just to startle somebody and I check it a little bit, it's going to ring them a little bit. It's going to get the desired effect. So we should also, in traditional martial arts, take this as a wake-up call. The keyboard warriors can damage what you're doing. And my solution to that is those of us who value the traditional things come online and give our opinion and show our alternative. Okay? Like I said, I don't have a problem with combat sport. A lot of people don't even think of Taekwondo as a traditional art. They think Taekwondo is just a sport. I remember a guy told me one time, I'll tell you this, but then I'm going to close. He said, well, what are you doing? Are you trying to make like your own thing or something? And I said, yeah, I'm doing Taekwondo. Oh, that's sport. Man, I also want to, get some more stuff in judo. Oh, yeah, that's a sport. And then he started thinking, wait a minute. And I said, anything else like with the internal arts and all that other stuff, we want to bring all that together. That's It's like, well, then you're just recreating Shaolin. I was like, well, then maybe I am, but that's what I plan on doing. So, like I said, Aikido-cuz, maybe consider learning how to have your people do sport judo in addition to Aikido. And I'm going to give you another warning, Aikido-cuz sport judo is fun. So you might get hooked on it. And judo players, I don't think learning Aikido would hurt at all. Matter of fact, if you look at some of those old Mifune videos, that stuff looks very Aikido-y, if that's a word, to me. It does to me. That's just my opinion. But what on it? Anyway, this channel says Cecil to you Taekwondo. Why am I even talking about other styles? Because see, to me, Taekwondo is the way of the hand and foot, right? When are you not using your hand or your foot in the martial arts? When are you not either using your hand or using your foot? And even if you're not using one of those, you're still using your body. You're still using the human body to teach you how to defend yourself, or even if it's not about defending or attacking, to harmonize, bring harmony back to a situation that has devolved into physical conflict. Thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. If you share with people like to talk about the martial arts in peace. And as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And if you want to hear some cruelty-free hip-hop, check out the Cecil Hip Hop channel.